BMCR, Boot Camp. Prologue, Secret Meeting. The skies blackened and rumbled over the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. Rain. Thunder and lightning punctuated the splattering drops that pelted a black umbrella as it moved closer to the entrance. Underneath it, a gentleman muttered obscenities as he watched the water splat his Berluti leather shoes. Every step was torture as he felt the water soak in, ruining that brand-new leather, climbing up his Gucci socks and settling in the cuffs of his Khitan wool cashmere trousers. At least his anger kept him warm. Gerald R. Krauss, a wealthy gentleman of significant caliber amongst his peers, of which there were not many, enjoyed a lifestyle that most dream about. Though he was annoyed at the cracking state of his new shoes, he could easily replace them without batting an eye. He worked for a group known as Excalibur, a secret organization that even the Illuminati didn't know about. Their aim was peace amongst all peoples of the world. It was his job to locate possible threats to this agenda and either eliminate them or recruit them. He walked up the steps of the Library of Congress and pulled out a long silver key in the shape of a broadsword. It looked more like a letter opener than a key, but it slid into the lock perfectly, unlocking the door and allowing him entry. Tonight was not unusual. Once a quarter, the Excalibur group called the servicemen, which Krauss was a part of, to the Library of Congress after hours to go over assignments. There were 7 of them, 6 too many from Krauss's point of view, but he wasn't in charge, and as long as the money flowed, he wasn't going to argue about it. He closed his umbrella, shook it vigorously, and left it in the metal umbrella stand by the door. He brushed off his O'Connor blazer and navigated the hollowed hallways to the main reading room, a circular room of desks, a literal cathedral of literacy, its archways pronouncing a mission towards higher learning, a mission of cooperation towards a common good. Fitting. It was quiet. He raised his wrist to look at his Breitling timepiece. Right on schedule, he thought. As always, his employers were probably in another room. Their meetings were run by intercom. It seemed pointless to Krauss. He figured they could have meetings one-on-one on the phone, but the group preferred it this way. Krauss made his way to the front podium and pressed a call button underneath. "Gerald Krauss is here," he spoke into the microphone. There was a single light in the whole room. He might as well have been alone. "We see you, Krauss. Welcome. Have you seen any of the others on your way in?" The voice was robotic. Krauss suspected a voice modulator. He and the rest were given them when communicating with their subordinates. "No, I didn't see anyone as I walked up. What is my assignment, if I may ask?" "That will become clear soon. We will wait for the rest to assemble." Krauss sighed. As always, he thought. He took a seat in one of the chairs and pulled a nearby book off the table. A minute later, a woman walked in. She was thin, toned, spray-tanned, and wearing a long, gaudy pink raincoat. Her bleach-blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail, she smiled coyly at Krauss as she walked in, dropping her raincoat, revealing her tan, bare belly with a navel ring. Krauss rolled his eyes and went back to the book. Her ensemble resembled a promiscuous teenage girl, but she was obviously a woman in her mid-40s. "Good evening, Jerry," she said saucily as she hugged his head with her big breasts nearly smothering him. Fake, he thought. He could feel her nipple rings through the insignificant garment that passed as a shirt. Angrily, he pushed her off of him. She laughed. "Still a party pooper, huh?" she said, her voice deep and raspy. "Still an indecent tart?" "Girls just want to have fun, Jerry," she said, "and this girl's missing a college party at Howard University." She pulled out her phone and took a selfie. Krauss shook his head and looked again at his Breitling. They're late, he thought. How unprofessional. She pushed the call button. "Eugenia Stern is present." "We see you. Please sit quietly and wait for the rest." 3 more gentlemen walked in and proceeded to the call button. One by one, Siflov, Casal, and Newton announced their presence, and shortly after the final 2 ladies walked in, Maverus and Blot. The meeting could finally commence, much to Krauss's relief. "Servicemen welcome," sounded the voice. "We'd like to thank you for your most recent work. Securing the Bigfoot monster was not easy, but Mission Redwood, headed by Serviceman Blot, was pivotal to our new #1 task. Codename Monster Mash. Monster Mash, shouted Newton, who'd been playing on his phone since the moment he walked in. Was it a graveyard smash? Silence. Cassell smiled. Blot rolled her eyes. Shut up, you stupid kid, said Siflov under his breath. Newton, Krauss reminisced, was the newest member of the servicemen, and the youngest. With Siflov's temper, meetings almost always ended in a fiery inferno. A smile crept onto his face. He moved his hand over his mouth so as to not give credence to Newton's joke, but it was mostly because he found it hilarious how easily Siflov was provoked. Surely, both these men hold no candle to me, he thought. If we may go on with the meeting. I would just like to interject before we go any further, said Maverus. Mission Redwood was a team effort between Serviceman Blot and myself. No one cares, shouted Siflov. Now, Mr. Siflov, said Serviceman Cassell, Miss Maverus was only saying that without her help, Mission Redwood might not have gone over too well. There's no need to get angry over someone's much-needed validation. A vein popped in Siflov's head. Maverus glared at Cassell. Oh, God, said Serviceman Stern, sinking lower in her chair. Can we please move on? Always a joy, thought Krauss, working with these idiots. Silence, came from the robotic voice again. This meeting does not need to last more than 30 minutes. There are only a couple more assignments that need to be divvied out for our next goal to be reached. Servicemen Cassell and Newton, you will make your final assessment of Fort Wickman. I want a full report written in my inbox in 3 weeks. Do you think you can handle that, Serviceman Newton? Why are you singling me out? I'll make sure he gets it done, said Serviceman Cassell before Serviceman Siflov suffered an aneurysm. Thank you, Serviceman Cassell. My pleasure. Serviceman Maverus continued to glare at him. Serviceman Maverus. She turned away to look into the darkness of the room, trying to find that disembodied voice. We have an agent in Moscow who's been working closely with one of our acquisitions. You will be picking her up. We have our suspicions about Russia handing over its greatest weapon, but we'll keep both ears alert while retrieving it. Understood. I won't let you down, she said, clasping her hands and bowing in the direction of the darkness. Serviceman Cassell rolled his eyes. Serviceman Siflov. Yes? We have a rather challenging asset for you to acquire. Check your inbox for a dossier. He's been spotted in the Appalachians at various campgrounds, unregistered. We believe he comes from the UK. You have all you need to know to find him and subdue him. Please keep all your outbursts in email format. We can ignore them better that way. Serviceman Siflov's eyes grew wide. Newton stifled a laugh as Cassell cleared his throat. Understood. Serviceman Stern. Serviceman Stern sat upright in her seat. We've assembled a team of Gales to help you on this one. Your target is somewhere in the middle of Loch Ness. Nessie? She gets Nessie? Newton shouted. Siflov glared at him, and Stern stuck her tongue out and winked at him. Serviceman Newton, your lack of commitment and vigor has lost you such an assignment. You are lucky we value your presence at all. At least Siflov accomplishes his assignments on time. Siflov sat up proudly as Cassell and Maverus rolled their eyes. Lastly, Serviceman Krauss. I'm listening. There's been a big to-do in a podunk town called Point Pleasant, West Virginia. A shadow man has been seen. The town has confirmed him as the Mothman. He's making a name for himself as a hero, more of a nuisance. We believe he would make an excellent addition to the exercise. Krauss smiled. Kid stuff. Hold on, sirs and madams, said Blot. What's the purpose of all this? Fort Wickman has been one of the United States' most top-secret training facilities. What is the aim of this exercise? The servicemen all turned to Blot and then to the darkness. There was a pause. These assignments are, all in all, a way to bring the world closer together.